Welcome from Indianapolis. I am Derwin Smiley. On today's show, I will have a conversation with Chef Sam Brown, the Director of Culinary Instruction at Second Helpings. And I will also have a conversation with Mr. Christopher Blackwell, a recent graduate of Second Helpings of the class of 70. I am glad you are with me, and that show starts right now. Chef Sam Brown is the Director of Culinary Instruction at Second Helpings here in the wonderful Circle City of Indianapolis. Chef, it's an honor to have you on the show.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I think the first time I came across Second Helpings and you was when I was filming with WFYI, the Super Bowl Legacy Project, when Indianapolis was hosting the Super Bowl between, I think, the Giants and the New England Patriots. We came to your Second Helpings and I started doing the interview with you, but we had a little sidebar, and we started going a little bit more into your background and your life struggles. And I was like, I have to get Chef Brown on the show just because of your triumph over hardship. Yes. Tell me, who is Chef Brown?
Well, Chef Brown is first and foremost is a very blessed man of God, but in addition to that, I have the opportunity to serve in my community as a chef instructor and director of culinary training for Second Helpings, which is a local nonprofit organization here in the great city of Indianapolis. And our mission is food rescue, hunger relief, and culinary job training. But that wasn't how the journey started. The journey started a long time ago back in Chicago, which is where I'm from, and my journey, and I never thought that I would ever be a chef or a chef instructor. I grew up on the south side of Chicago during a period of time where there was no economic development, really no role models or mentors. As a matter of fact, most of the mentors or those that we looked up to were either gang members, drug dealers, or pimps. And so as a result of seeing that kind of lifestyle every day, it was very easy to fall into that lifestyle. And so at an age that where most kids would probably be having fun with toys and playing, we were hustling on the streets of Chicago. And by the time I was a teenager, I was fully involved in gang activity, drug usage, selling drugs, definitely going down the wrong path. However, I did manage to graduate from high school, and I even attempted college, but because of the lifestyle I was living, I wasn't very successful in college, and returned back to Chicago, and now was bigger, stronger, and even more involved in street activity and things that aren't necessarily the path that I would have chosen. So basically I spent after that over 20 years just selling drugs and basically helping my community deteriorate because of that lifestyle. So
I want to jump in here. That right there is just a lot in there. So let me go back and piggyback on some of the stuff. I heard when you said growing up, you graduated from high school, then you went and did a little bit of college.
Right.
What was the turning point for you to say, I am still going to graduate from high school? Because you said you grew up on the south side of Chicago,
right,
and today Chicago has the highest homicide rate, or at least up at the top of that level in the country. So as you said, coming up in the 70s and everything that was going on in your life back then, I think some of the same things are taking place right now. So what can you say to the youth of today in Chicago, here in Indianapolis, how you turn that corner, even though you said you went back into that, you did a little bit of college that wasn't successful, but then came back. But what was your mindset to say, I'm still going to finish school?
More than anything else, a strong family support network. No matter what I did, good, bad, or otherwise, I still wanted to do as best I could to be a role model for my brothers. I was the oldest of three boys, and I still wanted to do whatever I could to make sure that my mother knew that I was trying to do the right thing, even though I may not have been making good decisions. I never wanted her to think that her labor and her work and all the things that she was trying to get me to see and get me to do was void. So I tried my best to still make sure that I was doing some of the things that were right. And at the end of the day, despite all those battles and trials and tribulations that I went through, she still had an opportunity to see me be successful later on in life. So,
what was the pain like when your mother found out what you was involved in?
it was very disappointing for her. She was hurt. Even though I did the best, and most of the time I never allowed her to see the dark side of what I was doing, because when you're in the streets and you're selling drugs and doing things that are outside the will and the dreams of your parents, it's a dark life. And that kind of lifestyle doesn't only impact you as a person. Later on, I found out that my lifestyle was actually destroying other families and destroying our community. And so, the most important thing that I wanted her to realize was that, and we have to remember that many of our youth will go astray sometimes, but we can't give up on them. We have to love them anyway. We have to help them work through those difficult times. And I was fortunate that I had a family support network in place that kind of helped me through that.
He is Mr. Chef Brown. Stay with us.
My mom, my aunt, and my sister all have diabetes. I know what the doctor's going to tell me someday, so I just don't go to the doctor.
What drives this notion of health disparity? Certainly access to care is one of them. And there are many reasons why that is potentially a problem. Part of it is economic, part of it is the demographic distribution of healthcare providers, and part of it is the trust or lack thereof in the healthcare delivery system. Sometimes patients actually have access, but the care that's received is inadequate or, in fact, inappropriate.
Thank you for staying with us. We will continue our conversation with Chef Sam Brown, the Director of Culinary Training at Second Helpings. Chef, as we went to break, you was talking about the impact you had on your younger siblings. Let's take a little, what are they doing today, and how do they look up to you now?
My brothers and I still have a very strong bond and a strong relationship. One of them is in the construction trades, and he's doing very well. He's a project manager for a construction company in Tennessee. And then my youngest brother actually graduated from the University of Illinois Champaign, and he's working in criminal justice in the Seattle area. So both of them have managed to also overcome some of the tough things that we went through. First and foremost, coming from a single family, female head of household, and then coming through a tough community in which not many positive things were going on at that time. But they both managed to come out of it pretty well.
What do you say to the youth of today who might say, I just was dealt a bad hand. I didn't have a father in my household, a single. My mother raised us, and she couldn't really raise couldn't raise boys. What do you say to that? Because I think that becomes a crutch, or gives them an excuse to say, it's already stacked against me, so why try?
You know, some of us in life are dealt some pretty unfair circumstances. However, you need to use that as an incentive to do better. The decisions that I made, good, bad, or otherwise, were based on decisions that I made. When I chose to go out and try illegal substances or experiment with them, those aren't things that I can blame on my mother. When I went out and started selling drugs and doing all those things, those aren't things that I was taught or raised to do. Those were decisions that I made. So I would say to the young guys, and I get to talk to them quite a bit when I go home, because some of the young guys I actually trained and taught how to sell drugs, and now I tell them that's the wrong lifestyle, and I was wrong for teaching you how to do those things. And now my words of encouragement to you are, go back, get your education, get some employable skills, and life will be so much better for you for doing that. So I think, yeah, that is a crutch to a certain degree. The past is the past. Education is readily accessible to everyone, and your future of quality of life is really going to depend upon the quality of education and, or in the case of Second Helpings, the employable job skills that you're going to be able to receive. So.
Tell me about, how did you become the head of culinary instruction of Second Helpings?
It was rather interesting. When I decided that I was actually done with the lifestyle that I was living in Chicago, I came to Indianapolis, and at that time I had no relatives, so I was homeless. I was living on the streets of Indianapolis as one of your homeless neighbors. I was living in shelters. I'd live in abandoned buildings as a squatter, whatever I could do. And eventually, by the grace of God, I decided to go into the shelter. I was done with being on the streets, literally, physically and mentally and emotionally. And while I was living at the shelter, which is a local shelter here in town called Lighthouse Mission, my responsibility was the kitchen. And I took it pretty seriously because my job was to feed or make sure that all the transient homeless that came into the building got a decent dinner. And so sometimes, you know, it could be as few as 75 people on a warm night during the summer, but during weather contingency, it could easily be 300 to 400 people. And one of the things that I noticed right away was that it wasn't just the stereotype of the homeless man. We saw homeless families. I had children coming through line to get dinner. And so that was an eye-opener for me. And that's when I first, so unlike most chefs, I didn't find my passion in a restaurant or a hotel. I found my passion in a shelter. And so I started just working hard and experimenting with the different food items that were donated to us. But also we started receiving these meals from this organization called Second Helpings. And I would look at the van and I saw on there where it would say food rescue, hunger relief, and job training. So while working through the curriculum and the objectives at Lighthouse Mission, you get to the point, like with all programs, where a transition has to occur. And so the options were, well, either go to school or go get a job. Well, my first option, of course, was to go get a job because I wanted to get a job and get an apartment and get out the shelter. Well, the staff had another plan for me. They told me that you're going to Second Helpings. And I'll be the first to tell you, I wasn't very happy with that decision that I wasn't going to get the chance to go get a job and get an apartment and move out like everyone else, that I had graduated from this program and now you guys are telling me you want me to go to another program. So I'm thinking, okay, when's this program stuff gonna end? I wanna go back out and have a normal life. So one day I was under the impression that we were gonna go to Second Helpings to pick up food, but what I found out was I was actually going to Second Helpings to fill out my application for the Culinary Job Training Program. And I can't tell you today how being a graduate of class number 9, and we're on class 71 now, has had a major impact on my life, as well as others that I've had an opportunity to serve as the director of culinary training for this organization. So,
why not? You're a chef now.
Yes, sir.
Why not? I know there's a plethora of jobs you have been offered. Why not just take off and running and get the money? You see the chef on TV, they're on shows and everything. Why come back and do this at Second Helping?
Well, there's 2 reasons for that. One, throughout what I call my wilderness experience, while I was out there running wild, out of control, I came in contact with a lot of money, and I had lots of money and lots of opportunities. And one of the things that I also learned while I was at Lighthouse Mission is that money doesn't buy happiness. So I could very well, and I have worked for-profit organizations as their executive chef and was very successful at it. But at the end of the day, 2 things. One, my covenant was that if I was given the opportunity, that I would help rebuild as many communities as I destroyed while I was out there doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. And 2, if there's ever going to be an opportunity for a community to grow and for people to truly have a good quality of life, then despite all the politics, the first thing we have to do is get people jobs. So if I could use some of the skills that I have and some of the network from other organizations and professional chefs, and together we could work as a community and get people jobs, that would be more fulfilling for me than being the executive chef at a large hotel or a country club or a resort. And so that's why I choose to stay where I'm at for now.
He is Chef Sam Brown. Stay with us.
1 out of every 3 Hispanic have no health insurance. 1 out of every 4 blacks have no health insurance. We need to really change that to make sure that there is access to care.
It's scary. Some people don't want to know the answers to certain questions. Oftentimes, people feel more comfortable being in the dark. We need to use those opportunities to educate families and individuals about changing behavior and healthier lifestyles. We're going to be saving more lives if we can get that information earlier, and if they can take that initiative, it's really going to be something they can do for themselves.
Thank you for staying with us. We will now continue our conversation with Chef Sam Brown, Culinary Director of Training at Second Helpings. Chef, tell me, how can our community, the youth in our community, not just the youth, but our community as a whole, become a part of Second Helpings?
You know, I'm honored every day to be a part of one of the best nonprofit organizations, not only locally, but we are recognized nationally for what we do. And there's many opportunities for our community to help serve the mission and participate in the mission of Second Helpings. First and foremost, if you're a restaurant owner, if you're a general manager, or if you are a chef, you know that in our industry, thousands of pounds of perfectly good food is thrown away every day. Please donate that food to us at Second Helpings. That food will be put to good use, and it will be used to generate probably we're going to be going up to about 4,000 meals per day that go out to over 60 different social service agencies. So you can donate that food to us. We will use it to feed the hungry in our community, and many of them are senior citizens and children. Statistics in Marion County are 1 out of every 5 children goes to bed hungry at night. So you can help us as a volunteer to prepare those meals, or you can be a donor to donate the food. And then the best part of our training, of our organization, where you can see immediate results, is our 10-week culinary job training program, We offer a free 10-week culinary job training program that is designed to give individuals who I like to say are displaced, whether they're unemployed, underemployed, victims of the economy, felons, doesn't matter. We want to give them an opportunity for the first time to have a organization that is going to embrace them on all levels and make sure that they have all the opportunities for success within the culinary field. I'll be the first to tell anyone that it's not an easy program because our industry is a very demanding industry. But from day one to graduation day, everything that the student needs for success will be provided for them through our organization and some of our partner agencies. I can guarantee them that there are going to be a variety of different chefs who are going to donate their time to make sure that they have sound basic fundamentals that are necessary for employment. I can assure them that they're going to get some life skills training to include time management, stress management, self-esteem, financial literacy. We are doing health screenings. We're doing everything that we can to get an individual from unemployed to employed. We're not there to judge them. We're strictly there for one reason, that's to train them. Because we know that when a person gets a job, just one person, ultimately that makes our organization better. That makes the quality of life for that individual and their family better. And then it makes our community better. So that's what we do every day, all day. Everything we do is geared toward making a difference in a person's life. And that's regardless of whether it's food rescue, hunger relief, or job training. And we do it with over 600 active volunteers that are participating in either picking up the food or delivering the food, or guest chef instructors that are coming in to help teach. It's a community kitchen. We're all pitching in to make our community a little better every day.
I think I have a minute left. Tell me one quick success story that stands out.
There's one I'm looking at one right there. My friend Chris Blackwell, who came to our industry with little to no food service industry experience. And within the next week or two, he'll be starting his new job at the Hilton Indianapolis, downtown Indianapolis. So.
What does it, tell me about the pride it feels to see your students.
It makes my heart smile, you know, and it's what we're there to do. You know, it just shows that we don't get any government funding. So when one of our graduates, the happiest day for me actually is when a graduate comes back to hire a graduate. That brings it all full circle.
Here's Chef Sam Brown. Stay with us.
As we get diversity reflected in those clinical trials, there's just no assurances that those medicines really are going to be applicable to the broader mainstream community. So there is a natural alignment here when it comes to clinical trials and making sure that we are doing everything we can to ensure diversity so that the outcomes can be new medicines that then we know are going to address everyone's interests.
It's our thought that by training these providers, more likely they will be a big part in bringing in more patients from minority populations to participate.
One size fits all used to be the way we develop new drugs. It's no longer the case. And so it's very important in a multicultural, multi-ethnic society that we have clinical trials where all groups of people participate.
Mr. Christopher Blackwell is a recent graduate of class of 70 from Second Helpings. Mr. Blackwell, it's an honor to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure being here.
Tell me, what was your life like before Second Helpings?
Well, before I went to Second Helpings, I saw myself really underachieving my goals. My grandparents, my grandfather, and my grandmother, they had a specific, I wouldn't say a plan for me, but they knew the path where I should go. And I was falling far below that. And it got to a point where I got tired of not doing it, meeting up to their expectations and making them proud.
I heard you say about your grandparents, how
Yes.
I think a lot of us, my grandmother was called Big Mama. And when I would call home from college, Big Mama was the first one I wanted to talk to because I wanted to impress her so much. Then it was my mother. What about your mother? expectations for you?
My mother's expectations are probably even higher than my grandparents were. My mother, I'm the only child. I was the, can't do no wrong son, but always found myself doing wrong. So she's found herself disappointed in me sometimes. And that kind of made me feel, underachieving and under.
And I know your mother, she's like a big sister to me, and she teaches an IPS and a hard-nosed teacher, disciplinarian. So what was it that made you decide enough is enough and I want to change my life?
Well, the combination of me disappointing my parents, my mother, and my grandparents, it was also the fact that I have 2 children and I want to show and be a role model to them and show them that the streets and the things like that, that's not the way to go. And if you really want to be successful, you actually have to work for it.
How hard was it to break away from your homies or your friends in the community?
It was hard at first, but once you commit your mind to it and actually that's what you want to do and actually proceed that way, then it gets a lot easier from there.
Tell me about the first day when you entered into Second Helpings.
The first day I entered not knowing what to expect at all. I came in, 21 of us were in there. All of us had goals of graduating. All of us had goals of going on. The chef, as soon as he came in there, he said, "I'll tell you right now, not all of you are going to make it." We all laughed it off, not seeing that what it is, but as we went through, we saw it got harder and harder, and if you really wanted it, you had to stick to it.
So when you graduated, how many individuals graduated with you?
11.
11. What happened, Chris? What happened? Was Chef right?
He was more than right. There's people, if you don't have the dedication, that determination, and also that discipline that's actually instilled into you in Second Helpings, if you don't have it already, it's pushed through you. And if you don't have it and you don't want to stick to it, then you'll just let it go.
Tell me about, I think, this week on the 5th, tell me about your accomplishment, what's getting ready to happen.
Actually, the 6th.
The 6th.
I actually start work at the Hilton, my first day. Very
day.
Excited about that. Thank you.
Congratulations. And you're just like a nephew to me. And I am just so proud of you, knowing your story and knowing the struggle. And it says something about all of us have some greatness in us.
Exactly.
And that's what I am all about, trying to inspire that greatness in you. And when you asked me I asked you, what do you love to do? You said, I love to cook. And I said, I have a program, Second Helpings, to get you in. And with the help of Chef, we got you in there. And, it just warms my heart that you are a success story to your family, to your children, to your community, and to people who will come in contact with you. And I'm just honored that on the 6th, you will start working at the Hilton. Here's Mr. Christopher Blackwell. I thank you for being with us this evening. And remember, you can follow us on the World Wide Web at thederwinsmiley.com. And remember, my sole purpose is to inspire greatness in you. I'll see you next time.